This episode is sponsored by Archaeogato Tours. Want to dig deeper into Mexico's indigenous past and present? Allow Archaeogato Tours to customize your Yucatán adventure. Archaeogato works hand in hand with local indigenous guides to provide a tour that is entertaining, educational, and beneficial to the local community. For an adventure like no other, check out archaeogato.com. That's ARKEOGATO.com. Or just follow the link in the show notes. Now, on with the show.
You must excuse me. I've grown quite weary.
This hasn't been easy, I know. But you've learned a lesson. A lesson in honesty. Honesty to yourself and honesty to others. That lesson will stand you in good stead all your life.
I think we've all learned a good lesson. I've always heard that honesty is the best policy. Now I'm catching on to why that's so, 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 to why that's so.
Greetings, dear listeners, and welcome to Tales from Atlantis, where we take you on a journey through Chicano, Mexicano, and Mesoamerican history and archaeology, and we help combat the spread of disinformation about these very topics. We are your hosts, Curly Tlapoyawa.
And Ruben Ariano Tlacatecat.
What's going on, Dr. Tlacatecatl? How are you?
How am I? That is a good question.
It's such a loaded question these days.
How is anybody nowadays, right? I mean, geez.
Just watching the world burn. Hey, what did you think of that song that I sent you? I
haven't had a chance to listen to it because I don't have a Apple Music account. So you sent me the Apple Music link.
Oh yeah, it's on Spotify.
I know.
Well.
I've just been real busy, but I just think it's interesting. Can you tell us a little bit more about the song that you're talking about?
A while back, his name is Chicano Vega. He spells it Xicanovega. And this is a while ago because I had totally forgotten about it, to be honest. Mm-hmm. He reached out and was like, hey, I'm a fan of the podcast, which we absolutely appreciate. And he asked if he could maybe pull something from the podcast for a song. And I was like, yeah, man, go for it. Mm-hmm. And time passed and I'd spaced it out. I forgot about it. And then he's like, here it is. Boom. And he sent me the album. It's called Camino Rojo is the name of the album. And he's from Texas. He's a Texas MC. And there's a song on there, Sacred Land, that samples our interview with Dr. Mario Garza, of the Miacan Garza, Coahuiltecans, and it's done really well. And I was really excited and surprised to hear the song because it was very cool.
Does he use his audio throughout the entire song? Because the clip that you sent me starts off with Dr. Garza saying a few words, and then you can hear the rapper come in. And then there's like a hook or something, and then it picks up again with Dr. Garza, and right where it cuts off, it's like that's Dr. Garza speaking about the land and the sacredness of the land and things like that.
Yeah, so it's basically it's used in place of a chorus, right? So you have like Dr. Garza speaks, and then the first verse, and then more of Dr. Garza speaking again, and then the second verse.
So does he repeat Dr. Garza's words, or does he like use like throughout the song? Is it just him clips of the interview? And
it's different clips of the
different clips. Okay,
talking about how the land is sacred, and it came out really well. So listeners, if you are so inclined, I encourage you to go check out the album Camino Rojo by Chicano Vega. It's available on Spotify, on Apple Music, and I've been encouraging him to release it on vinyl because I like having stuff like that on vinyl. I think that would be very cool for that to happen. So thanks, bro, for including us on that and Job well done. I enjoyed the entire album. So everyone should go out there and check it out.
Nice.
And
don't forget to give us credit, bro.
Yeah.
Like, where'd you get this from? Listen to Tales from Atlantis.
Yeah. He shouts us out all the time. So
yeah. Okay, cool.
I'm sure he gives credit.
Right on.
And other than that, man, just been going through the shit.
Yeah, it's like the last episode that we put out was one where I went solo and talked a little bit about stuff that's going on, how we got here, things like that. And it's interesting because like the very same day that I was doing that, and then I posted the following day, someone from our community was rounded up with the ice raids out in California. And do you want to talk about that and say a little words about that, or?
Well, luckily we're talking. He's the national spokesperson for the
right, because you said you had
party.
Spoken to him the day before. He was
we were texting like the day before. Because I had sent him. I'd started these. Well, I'll get to what I had sent him, but anyway, the point being, we had like messaged back and forth the day before, and then the next day I started getting all these messages like, damn, man, he got picked up. And people were freaking out, rightfully so, because nobody knew where the hell he was. Nobody knew where he was being held. His family didn't know how to get a hold of him. And then they tried to hit him with some bullshit that he was trying to like spike tires or something. But luckily there were enough people on the scene with cameras that, that story got forgotten real quick. Yeah. So he was released. I don't think they're filing any charges, but
just the whole inconvenience of it, right? I mean, because we had a similar event that happened, maybe was it last week at a different farm, where in this case it was some young Chicano who is ex-military, who I believe was serving as security for this farm, and ICE showed up and they rounded up a bunch of people, and in fact someone died. A gentleman from Yucatán by the name of Jaime Alaniz, 54 years of age, died escaping, running away from ICE. Apparently he got on top of a roof of some building and fell to his death, all because these goons are out there rounding up people who are just trying to make a living, And I don't know. I mean, it's been impacting me. I'm sure that it's impacting other people in our community, and it makes it to the point where it's kind of hard to focus on things sometimes.
Oh, absolutely, man.
And I just want to tell people out there, that it's okay to talk to someone, someone that you trust, someone that someone that is going to hear you and listen to what you have to say and provide, just that, if anything, at least an ear, right? They don't have to necessarily do anything for you besides just listen to you, be able to express yourself. And one of the ways that I express myself, I'm a historian, but I'm also a music lover. And the day that it happened, I started writing a corrido for Jaime Alaniz. I'm not known for my corridos, if you know what I mean. But I'm still working on it. But maybe at the end of this episode, for the premium listeners, I might offer a few verses.
Nice.
Yeah, what I'm working on.
Please do. And to touch on, absolutely. And to touch on what you just said, it gets very overwhelming to wake up every morning and, I look at my phone and it's just video after video of people screaming and it's like this just terror going on, this terrorizing of our communities. So, take care of yourselves. Like, don't feel like you need to just keep watching that stuff over and over and over again, because it has an impact on you.
It does.
It definitely affects the way that I, comport myself through the rest of the day, just having that be one of the first things that I see. And Michelle and I were just at a protest this morning. We went out because there was a Walmart here where they scooped up a guy.
Right. I saw the video for that. I mean, didn't they tase him and he fell to the floor? Like,
Yeah.
no one to catch him. He just like lands almost like was it on his back and maybe his head hit
he hits
the
pretty
floor, right?
hard.
Yeah.
And then one of the employees is there like telling the people filming like, hey, get out of here. You know, and he's telling other people there, get back to work. And,
nothing to see here, folks.
Yeah, exactly. So, that guy's name got out, by the way, the guy who, was working at Walmart. And so people were calling him out from the protest.
Yeah. Wow.
They were like, where are you at, puto?
Right.
So,
Right on.
And then, of course, you know, some of the Walmart employees, a couple of them came out and they were like under their breath, like being real obnoxious towards us. Like not saying stuff, talking shit basically, but in very hushed tones. Like this guy walked by and he was all, go ice. But he wasn't, you know, making a stand about it, which is unusual because it's like, you know, you work at Walmart, man. I imagine you're not very wealthy. We're here protesting for like you too, bro. Like, don't think that you're beyond getting snatched up.
Didn't it just come out recently that these people are being recruited and they're being paid six figures, 100,000 to start, and then they're getting a sign-on bonus, like $45,000.
40, yeah.
So imagine being someone who, because I was, you know, my daughter, you know, we talk about these things all the time, and she was asking me like, you know, what would motivate someone? Because, you know, we went to watch the Superman movie, and you know, it's funny how the maggots are getting all up in arms over Superman because it's and even if Superman was written before all this was going on, that's my understanding, right? So the fact that the script is mirroring what's going on in society, and you have these people who are getting upset because it's painting a certain type of person in a certain light. It's like, no, well, that should tell you something right there. I mean, I don't know if it does. I don't know if that makes you open your eyes. But one of the things that we were talking about is like, what motivates someone to do something like this, right? And so even if, for instance, even if you think you are on the wrong side of history, you know, it's money, right? The fact that they're being offered this outrageous amount of money to sign up to be an ICE goon is going to motivate anyone who people will convince themselves about anything that they're doing right, even if they have to crack a couple of eggs to make an omelet, then so be it, because the ends justify the means. We're, you know, quote unquote, protecting the country, and we're rounding up these people who are here illegally, and they've been convinced, they've been told, right, that these people are criminals, that these people are up to no good, and they're rapists and murderers, and you know, some of them are good people, right? Totally
dehumanized.
I'm hearing that some of them are good people, but hint, you know, it's like round them up, and so they convince themselves that even if they're tearing up families and they're you know, killing people by accident, or people who are dying in the concentration camps that they have, they've convinced themselves, right, that they're doing something good for their country, and on top of that, they're getting paid for it. So there's always a money factor involved with these sorts of things. People wouldn't just do it just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah. Well, I think some of them would.
Well, yeah, the ones that are motivated by hate and racism and xenophobia will definitely do it for free.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
But I'm sure, you know, they would want to be compensated too. I mean, like going back to the historically speaking, to when the colonial governments would pay people for the scalps of Indians, right? Like bring us the scalp and you get paid a certain amount of money. And so people would go out and they would intentionally just go scalping innocent indigenous people who are just minding their own business because there's some money on that bounty, right? And the money factor is going to motivate people to do some outrageous shit. And so, I mean, this is another PSA to our listeners who are, you know, I know that we have listeners around the world, and we apologize if this doesn't apply to you, but this is what we're having to contend with here in this country at the moment.
Yeah.
But
damn it.
On a lighter note, we have
a
new episode for you.
Yeah, we've got some pretty cool stuff to talk about. little interesting tidbits from history. One from right here in my own backyard.
Yes, sir.
Los Lunas, New Mexico, which is where I went to high school, by the way.
Right. So I'm curious.
For those couple of years that I went to high school.
Maybe when we get into the discussion part, maybe you can tell me, well, you've never told me about this artifact in your backyard, but hey, that's what this episode is going to reveal. What you know, the deep dark secret held by deep archaeology.
Big archaeology, keeping everything secret. And so, dear listeners, we're going to kick off this episode. From Head to Stone, Tales of Dubious Discoveries.
We'll be back after a quick break.
This episode of Tales from Astlantis is brought to you by Astlantis Premium. Don't you just hate having your favorite podcast interrupted by ads like this? Well, dear listener, you're in luck. Because starting at just $3 a month, you can support independent Chicano media and receive ad-free episodes, premium episodes, bonus content, and access to our Discord server. Just visit talesfromastlantis.com and click Go Premium, or follow the link in the show notes. And now, on with the show.
All right, so we're going to start off with what's called the Tecaxic Calixtlahuaca head. Did I say that right? No, hold on. This is a tongue twister. The Tecaxic Calixtlahuaca head. So I'm just going to I'm just going to call it the TC. I'm just going to call it the TC head. Okay, that's a tongue twister. Tecaxic Calixtlahuaca head.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
So this is a persistent and intriguing myth that I didn't discover this necessarily. It came up on my feed not that long ago. It was prompted by an article that was recently published in an outfit called thetravel.com, and it was entitled, "Did Romans Visit America?" Okay, so this is supposed to be about Romans visiting the Americas, and of course this is before Columbus. That's how this is framed. So it's a fascinating question, one that, the source article kind of explores, and this is something that we're going to sort of dissect here and see what there is, if there's anything to this Tecaxic. There I go again. Tecaxic. That's gonna kill me. Tecaxic Calixtlahuaca. So the very idea conjures up fascinating images, doesn't it? Roman legions navigating uncharted waters, galleys reaching distant shores. But
amazing if true.
Right? Amazing if true. As isn't that Ben Radford's one of his books?
Yeah, I think
No, I think it's Big if True. I think that's the name of it, Big if True. But as the travel.com article itself hints at, while, quote, the theory of ancient Romans setting foot on American soil is a pervasive myth, end quote, the evidence, or rather lack thereof, tells a very different story. So let's pump the brakes on the romanticism there for a moment, right? The core of this enduring myth and the central piece of evidence discussed in the article often revolves around a single artifact that Tecaxic Calixtlahuaca head. Hey, I had to write this.
Damn, there you go, son.
This terracotta head was discovered in Mexico's Toluca Valley, specifically at an ancient Aztec site near Tecaxic Calixtlahuaca, from which it derives its name. And it holds a regional relevance due to its archaeological context. So, discovered in Mexico in 1933, this terracotta head bears a striking resemblance to a Roman sculpture. And for some, that's enough to declare, QED, Romans were here. However, as always, the devil is in the details. And in this case, the details are riddled with doubt. As the article points out, this head is the only pre-Cuauhtémoc artifact, quote, to have ever been found with Roman characteristics, end quote. So the striking resemblance to ancient Roman artifacts has certainly sparked much debate about its origins. So let's dissect this. Firstly, it's one head, just one, in the entire vastness of the Americas, with centuries of Roman civilizations back in Europe. We have a single isolated artifact. If the Romans truly established a presence here in the Americas, even if it was a fleeting one, wouldn't we expect to find more? coins, pottery fragments, remnants of camps, or even just another odd piece of statuary. The article itself highlights this critical point, noting that, quote, no other similar objects have ever been found. The absence of a broader archaeological footprint is a glaring red flag. So, secondly, the origin of the Tecaxic Calixtlahuaca head itself is far from settled. Despite testing, a consensus on the head's origins remains elusive. While some claim it's definitely Roman, or thermoluminescence testing dated it to a broad range of 9th century, roughly between the 9th century BCE to the 13th century CE, leaving its precise age and origin ambiguous. And that's a big, 9th century to 13th century, that's a big difference. And so the travel.com continues. It lays out 4 main hypotheses regarding the presence of this head in Mexico, acknowledging, quote, a general lack of consensus on the head's origin. So to the credit of this piece, it's not, the title was kind of mystery mongering, but that's the hook, right? That's the way to get you in. And so they provide several hypotheses that we're going to go over here, and we'll see what the travel.com ends up siding with at the end. So the first hypothesis, go ahead.
Well, before you get into that, I did want to bring up that we should clarify. It's called the a head, right? And it is, but when you say that it's this a Roman head, like a statue, it conjures up this imagery that it's like a life-size bust of somebody's head, when in reality the artifact itself is very small, like it could fit in your pocket. It's it's maybe, I'm looking at a photo of it right now next to a scale, and from head to chin, it's like 3 centimeters.
Get out of here. That's it.
It's like this big. So it's something you could easily just like put in your pocket and walk away with it's not like a massive, because when I first heard about it, I was like, oh shit, like the head of a Roman statue. And then, you start looking at it and I'm like, oh wait, this thing was tiny.
So that paints it, that puts it in a different light altogether.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe we can get into that in the discussion portion. But let's get back to the hypotheses that they set forth. Number 1, this is hypothesis 1 from thetravel.com. Post-Columbian introduction. So this is perhaps the most pragmatic explanation. The head could have easily been, quote, brought to the Americas by Europeans after 1492, end quote. Think about it. European traders, explorers, and other settlers were crisscrossing the Atlantic for centuries after the Roman Empire's decline, often bringing curiosities and personal items with them. This theory doesn't require any fantastical ancient voyages. So that's the first hypothesis. Hypothesis 2, a Roman ship blown off course. This is where the romantic imagination takes flight. A Roman vessel caught in a storm, pushed across the mighty Atlantic, eventually making landfall in the New World. While theoretically possible for a tiny vessel, consider the state of Roman naval technology. The article wisely questions this, stating that, quote, Roman sailing techniques and ship limitations made it extremely improbable, end quote. Their ships were primarily designed for coastal navigation and the relatively calm waters of the Mediterranean. They lacked the advanced rigging, hull designs, and navigational instruments necessary for a deliberate or even accidental transatlantic crossing. The sheer logistics of sustaining a crew on such an epic, unplanned journey are staggering, especially given the, quote, impossibility of Romans crossing the Atlantic due to their sailing techniques, which favored coastlines over open seas and the limitations of their ships for long voyages, end quote. So that hypothesis is kind of a no-go right off the bat.
Yeah, that one's pretty out there.
Hypothesis 3, Mesoamerican origin. Could indigenous artisans have created something that coincidentally resembles Roman art? It's not entirely out of the question, artistic styles can sometimes converge, and local traditions might have produced a similar aesthetic, which is they kind of leave this hypothesis open-ended for the reader to kind of make their own decision. Well, maybe could, and we can talk about that too, since you're more of an expert on that than I am, and maybe you can offer a few thoughts on that hypothesis. And hypothesis 4, it's a hoax. This is the most cynical, but unfortunately a not uncommon reality in the world of archaeology. The head could simply be a fabricated artifact planted in a way that suggests it was a genuine find, designed to stir excitement or even to deceive. The circumstances of its discovery decades ago might not meet today's rigorous archaeological standards for provenance and context, which I'm kind of leaning towards that one, but we'll see. We'll take a closer look here in a little bit. And then there's a quote also from the Wikipedia page that Curly was able to find. And this is what it says. According to an informal declaration by Paul Schmidt, an archaeologist at the UNAM, the head was planted in the site by a participating archaeologist, Hugo Moedano, in an attempt to play a practical joke on Jose Garcia Payon, supervisor of the dig. So ding, 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 ding. Hypothesis 4 it is. So the article itself suggests that the most likely explanations are that the head was either made by Mesoamericans or that it's a hoax. And so they're close, right? And frankly, that aligns with a skeptical perspective, which I like. That's what I liked about the article. It had that sort of hook to it. It had that mystery mongering to it. But at the end, even though they kind of leave some of those hypotheses open-ended, they kind of lean more towards the probability of it being a hoax, even if they didn't know this anecdote, which you were able to pull from Wikipedia. I'm wondering why they weren't able to do some research.
It's weird.
Include that. Maybe they felt like it would take away from the story. So the conclusion is further supported by the browsed content, which states that the head being a Mesoamerican creation or a hoax are the most likely scenarios. The burden of proof for extraordinary claims lies with those making them. And when it comes to Romans in America, and this goes for this head or for any other so-called ancient Roman artifact that is found in America, but this is not the only one. I believe there are several out there. The evidence is extraordinarily thin, and it rests almost entirely on a single ambiguously sourced artifact. So whenever you find something that is ambiguous and it's a single source, always question that claim, because if you just have one source making the claim, there's no other evidence to corroborate what they're saying. And so you can't really just take their word for it. It's a claim that's being made. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. And furthermore, let's consider the historical context. The Romans were meticulous record keepers, right? Their empire was vast, but their known explorations were primarily focused within their sphere of influence, Europe, North Africa, and the Near East. So even if we didn't have the quote from Wikipedia that tells us that this was a deliberate hoax, even if we had none of that information to go with, we could also eliminate it just by the sheer fact that the Romans themselves were very meticulous record keepers. And if there had ever been any mention of any ships having been sent across the Pillars of Hercules to venture out into the open sea, I think someone would have definitely noted that somewhere. And so there's no mention of it in any Roman historical text, any maps or navigational guides of the journey to the lands beyond into the Atlantic. And as the article summarizes, quote, Roman sailing practices and ship capabilities make a Roman voyage to America highly improbable. So just the fact that the Romans didn't have the kind of sailing capabilities that later became the standard during the age of exploration, beginning with the Portuguese, right, who benefited from a lot of the technologies that they inherited from the Middle East and their own explorations and their own discoveries that they made as seafaring peoples. None of this would have happened before the middle of the 15th century, meaning 1440s to 1450s is really when the Portuguese begin to experiment with these navigational techniques. And that's what allows the Portuguese to begin to sail, around the western edge of Africa and eventually make it around the keep, and they made it as far as India and other places out in what is now the East or Asia, right? And so the Romans didn't have any of that. And so while the idea of Romans in America is a captivating narrative, a critical examination of the evidence leaves us with very little to go on, except we know, right, that the head is basically a hoax. I mean, there's really nothing else to say about it. Other than, I mean, I wish we had the people who involved. Do you know, Curly, if they've ever come out and said anything else besides this?
All I was able to find was that the people who were allegedly involved with it have passed away. So that, it's going to remain, whether you take this guy's word for it or not. But what cracks me up about stuff like this is this propensity to just like latch on to the most fantastical version of it. Mm-hmm. Like we look at like, okay, so how could this, artifact how could it have come to this, site, which is seldom visited. Like it's not a big archaeological site that people go to and like has a big museum and everything. Like, so how did this wind up here? And it's intriguing to go through and be like, okay, well, if it's authentic, an actual Roman figurine, it's tiny. So easily like a Spaniard could have brought it over with them, or some European explorer could have had that on their person, and maybe they traded it away to indigenous people, and then an indigenous person has it, and then, it winds up in their burial goods. I mean, just that, and I just made that up right now. Like that's far more plausible than the ancient Romans
because you
came
would think
across
that,
the ocean.
That if an indigenous person had found this and it would have made its way as a gift to someone of import in indigenous society, it probably would have been with their belongings. Maybe would have been part of incorporated into their personal sacred objects. That might have been buried with them. If it was something that was deemed even by them, by that society, as being so extraordinary that not that it had necessarily magical powers or anything like that, but it was just so different that it gave them a sense of cachet, like having something that's exotic, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly what trade is all about, right? You get these prestige items that are hard to come by. And once you get one in your possession, you hold on to it because it's like, this reflects my standing in this community. I have this really cool thing.
No one else has it but me.
Exactly. And the harder it is to come by, the harder it is to manufacture, the more coveted those items are, right? Like, wow, I've got this object that means a lot to me. It's just funny that, like I said, how small it is, because none of the mainstream articles that I found about it, I had to look up an academic paper written about it that had actual photos of it next to a scale. And so that's a big thing in archaeology. We always give each other shit. Like if we take a picture of an artifact, the first question is like, well, where's the scale? Because I have to know, like, how big is this thing? Like, what are you showing me here? And it's funny, that quote from Wikipedia that I found, that it was intentionally planted at the site by another archaeologist to play a practical joke, because this shit happens all the time. It usually doesn't, go off the rails like this and become like a whole thing on the internet. But on multiple occasions, I have seen personally people put stuff in each other's units just to mess with them. And there's even a famous story here amongst New Mexican archaeologists about a certain archaeologist, not going to say their name, who had a propensity to believe more outlandish things. Like, they really liked to lean hard into their interpretation of what could possibly be going on at the site. And so another archaeologist on the crew, like, created a fake artifact and just like dropped it in their unit while they weren't looking. And they popped up thinking they had found like this totally unique, badass thing. And then once, everybody started laughing, they got pretty pissed off about it because it made them, it kind of revealed how, their level of credulity, I guess is a nice way to put it. Yeah. They wanted to believe. So yeah, this is common. We fuck with each other in the field. Like that's a common occurrence.
You know what's interesting? Now that you mentioned it, there is something akin to that in history, but not quite the same. So whereas archaeologists will hoax their fellow archaeologists by implanting something in their site, in history, if you want to be mean-spirited, and if you know that there's another scholar working on the same topic you are, and you know that they're going to be going to the archives, that they have to go to the archives that you're looking at to be able to say anything about that subject. And if you find something, you'll hide it from them. You'll misplace it so that it'll take them longer to find.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Have you picked up your Mexica calendar for the year 12 Flint? Or how about a paperback copy of The Four Disagreements? Just visit talesfromatlantis.com for all the latest merchandise and show some love for your favorite podcast. That's talesfromatlantis.com for all the latest merchandise. Now, back to the show. It's kind of like when I would go to the store and there was that one item I wanted, so I would hide it behind another item,
right?
So I could come back and get it later.
Exactly, just like that.
That's brutal. I love it, and it's better too if you dislike the other historian, right?
Oh yeah, if you hate them, oh man, it's like that fool's coming. I know.
Good luck finding this, buddy. Mm-hmm. That's hilarious. And that leads us into our second topic here, the Los Lunas Decalogue stone of New Mexico. And we call it the Mystery Stone, the New Mexico Mystery Stone. That's what I heard it called. Interestingly, I've never actually gone out to Hidden Mountain to see it. I first heard about it when I was in junior high. My history teacher or one of my teachers was talking about it, and he was like 100% a true believer in it. He was like, yeah, there's this stone that has the 10 Commandments in Hebrew, and, it proves that the ancient, Hebrews were here and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, okay. It didn't really pique my interest. And so as I went to high school, you'd hear about it again, but then the teacher I heard about it from in high school was way more critical of it. Like, yeah, this bullshit stone that everybody goes out to look at, and it's a bunch of nonsense. So I grew up hearing about it, but I've never actually gone out to see it. And it's one of those things that I keep meaning to go out and look at for myself. And it's actually not that hard to get to. I don't know why I haven't.
So it's available for anyone to just go and take a look at it? It's kind of strange.
Yeah. So, it's where it's located is it's on public land. So you need, there's like a permit that you get, and then you have to go out to this trailhead, and then you go on a little hike, and eventually you'll get to this rock outcrop where it's located.
So is this like an official trail at a park?
As far as I know, yes. There's like a trail there that you could go on. I don't know if you have to go off trail to get to the actual
right, but it's
site.
Like, for instance, there's an actual like a trail that people go hiking at.
Yeah, you could go out there.
But if you want to go take a look at the stone, you can go off the beaten path per se. I believe so, and I do know you need to go online and like get a permit. Although I doubt anybody ever does, because I doubt there's anybody out there checking for especially in today's environment. Yeah, nobody cares. So that was my personal experience with the stone. I still need to go out and see it. If I go out and look at it, I'll take a bunch of photos and I'll throw them up on
on the Instagram, on the gram, as the kids like to say.
Is that what the kids are saying?
I don't know.
Is that
I
what
don't
they're
talk to
calling
kids. It's what I imagine they sound like.
Yeah.
Throwing this on the gram, daddy-o. So the Tecaxic Calixtlahuaca head, see, I almost fumbled on it. You got me all self-conscious.
Yeah.
Is not the only supposed artifact from the Eastern Hemisphere that is believed to have made its way to the Americas before the European invasion. It isn't an isolated incident in the realm of out-of-place artifacts, which is what the Tecaxic Calixtlahuaca head was. We call them upas, an out-of-place artifact.
Oh, okay.
The world of archaeology, or rather the fringe edges of it, is littered with similar tales. True that. Tales from Atlantis, one might say. And one of the most compelling parallels to our Roman head story can be found much further north in my own backyard, the Los Lunas Decalogue stone of New Mexico. So imagine a massive boulder etched with what appear to be 10 lines of ancient script. This is the Los Lunas Decalogue stone, or the Mystery Stone, discovered near Los Lunas, New Mexico. For some, this inscription, purportedly an abridged version of the Ten Commandments, written in an ancient form of Hebrew, is undeniable proof. But proof of what? That ancient Israelites, or at least Hebrew speakers, somehow made it to the American Southwest millennia before Columbus. Proponents of the stone's authenticity suggest that its inscriptions are Paleo-Hebrew, etched into the rock long before the 1800s. The theory goes that, or the hypothesis goes, that ancient Near Eastern peoples, perhaps even a lost tribe of Israel, traveled all the way to New Mexico and left this remarkable message behind. It's a captivating idea, isn't it? A testament to ancient global exploration, challenging our understanding of early American history. But like many grand archaeological claims, we have to ask, does the evidence hold up? Well, unfortunately for the romantics, the answer is a resounding no.
No.
And no. Let's break down why most archaeologists and historians view the Los Lunas stone as a modern fabrication. First, there's a glaring lack of archaeological context. True ancient artifacts are usually found within layers of sediment alongside other objects that help us date them and understand their cultural significance. The Los Lunas stone was essentially found sitting out in the open with no surrounding evidence to support its antiquity. And that's the thing, right? If we had found, lots of artifacts scattered around it to show that there was this ancient arrival of people, they would have left behind a lot of stuff, more so than the stone. Then there's the issue of the individuals associated with the stone. One name that often surfaces is Frank Hibben, an archaeologist whose reputation has been, let's say, less than stellar due to questionable practices and alleged hoaxes in other contexts. So Frank Hibben was an interesting individual. I was actually a Hibben junior, what was it called? Like I had gotten this scholarship to go to field school from the Frank Hibben Foundation. So he was like a very wealthy individual who left a very large endowment to the University of New Mexico. So, people are a little hesitant to criticize his legacy too much because there's a lot of money involved. In fact, at UNM, where a lot of my classes was directly next to the Hibben Center, which is where a lot of lectures and presentations take place.
I thought you were going to tell me that you were kind of like a Swiftie for Hibben. So Hibben.
Yeah. I'm a hibbie.
Hibbie? Is it hibbie?
A Swiftie for Hibben.
You're the problem, Curly. You know that.
I am. He's most famously known around these parts for the alleged discovery of the Sandia Man, which there's Sandia Cave up in the Sandia Mountains, and he allegedly found proof of an ancient person up there that he named the Sandia Man, and it turned out that it was just all nonsense. So yeah, there's less than stellar is a nice way of putting it.
You'll have some interesting characters out in New Mexico. Remember
it's a wild place.
A few years ago there was this rich old guy who had hidden some treasure up in and people thought it was in New Mexico, but he ended up hiding it. Like, was it in southern Colorado or something?
No, it was in
or was it
Yellowstone?
Was it Yellowstone?
No, it was in a national park. I don't remember which one.
Right, but he was from New Mexico, right? He was
an author from out here. Yeah, man. There's
the land of enchantment.
There's some interesting cats out here, to say the least. When a controversial artifact is championed by someone with a history of controversy, it raises immediate red flags. A Hibben Fellow. I don't know why I couldn't remember that, but I was a Hibben Fellow. So it paid for my my field school, and that semester of school covered everything. So,
praise be to Hibben Fellow.
R.I.P. Frank Hibben. Cheers.
With my jarritos.
With my Imperial IPA. But perhaps the most damning evidence comes from the analysis of the text itself. Experts who have studied the inscription point out several inconsistencies. While it mimics Paleo-Hebrew, the specific forms of the letters and the way they are written suggest a modern understanding of the script, likely derived from academic rediscovery of Phoenician scripts. Furthermore, the inscription appears to have been made using modern tools, not primitive implements available to ancient peoples. It looks like a clumsy attempt to recreate an ancient writing system by someone with only a rudimentary grasp of Hebrew. The consensus among scholars is that the Los Lunas stone is almost certainly a modern work, likely created sometime between 1870 and 1936. It is a clever hoax designed to stir imagination and perhaps even to sell a good story, but a hoax nonetheless. One of my favorite hypotheses about the Mystery Stone is we had a Mormon battalion in the 1800s come through New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And some people think that it was fabricated by these Mormon soldiers to sort of back up their claims to the land, their claims to their historicity within.
But wouldn't they have left something from the Mormon text? What's it called?
It's the Book of Mormon.
The Book of Mormon instead of the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
That just doesn't make any sense.
So there's that, and then there's like this really bizarre link, and I'm actually working on an episode that's gonna this artifact is gonna make a reappearance in a future episode, because there's a very strange link between this hoax and the claim amongst New Mexicans that they are descendants of Jewish peoples.
Oh, so get your bingo cards ready, folks.
Yeah. So while the idea of ancient Hebrews in New Mexico is a fascinating tale, the Los Lunas stone serves as a potent reminder. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And in this case, the evidence just isn't there.
Bwah, bwah, bwah. Shocking, right? So just like the Tecaxic Calixtlahuaca head, the Los Lunas stone is a single, unique artifact making an extraordinary claim about pre-Cuauhtémoc transoceanic contact. No Roman forts around the head, no Israelite settlements around Los Lunas stone. They both stand alone, isolated, screaming for context that simply isn't there. So here are a few similarities between the two. Firstly, the evidence is isolated and singular. If Roman legions were indeed making landfall in Mexico, or if ancient Hebrew-speaking communities were living in New Mexico, we would expect a much broader archaeological footprint. Yep. Coins, tools, pottery, remnants of settlements, burial sites, something, right? Something more than just one single curious object. Their singular nature immediately raises a red flag. Secondly, the provenance of these things is often murky or problematic. With the Tecaxic Calixtlahuaca head, there's debate about its exact discovery in 1933. With the Los Lunas Decalogue stone, while it's been known since the late 19th century, its initial discovery lacks the rigorous documentation modern archaeology demands. This opens the door to questions about whether it was placed there more recently, such as the head that we've already determined. So this date of 1933, I'm not sure where that comes from, honestly. Did someone just make that up? And thirdly, and perhaps most damningly for both, are the stylistic and linguistic inconsistencies. The Tecaxic Calixtlahuaca head, while Roman-like, isn't unequivocally Roman in its craftsmanship for many experts. Similarly, the Hebrew script on Los Lunas stone, while superficially ancient, contains features and anachronisms that strongly suggest a more modern origin, like the 19th or maybe even the 20th century, possibly by someone with a rudimentary understanding of Hebrew. And so it's also too clean in some ways, too imprecise in others, to truly pass muster as genuinely ancient and authentic. Sometimes when people try to make something look so ancient and so authentic that they overdo it, right?
Yeah, they overdo it.
They overdo it. And so you can tell someone who's an expert and who's seen things in situ when they've been discovered will know the difference between something that is authentically ancient and something that has been overdone to seem authentically ancient.
Oh, man.
So both the Roman head and the Decalogue stone are fascinating, no doubt. I mean, if you're into mystery mongering and finding things that are and discovering stuff that what if this and what if that, sure, they spark the imagination and they fuel captivating narratives. But when subjected to the light of skeptical inquiry and rigorous archaeological standards, they crumble like little cookies. They serve as potent reminders that a single intriguing object, especially one lacking corroborating evidence and exhibiting internal inconsistencies, is rarely enough to rewrite centuries of established history and archaeological evidence. They are cautionary tales, not confirmed discoveries. So
exactly.
I don't know. I mean, so any thoughts? Any further thoughts and comments on both the head and the stone?
Yeah, so I wanted to, I don't know if you know who Carl Fagans is. He's an archaeologist.
Yeah.
So he did an article a while back in 2022 about the mystery stone.
Okay.
And so he has some good information here on how to go see it, if anybody's interested.
Oh, okay.
He says it's approximately 36 miles south of Albuquerque, just off historic Route 66. At the northeast edge of a volcanic remnant called Hidden Mountain. The site is on New Mexico state property, and anyone that wants to visit needs a recreational access permit. It costs about $35. So it's going to set you back a little to go look at the hoax.
I wonder if the hoax was done by the state of New Mexico to generate some money.
Oh man, here's one something that's funny in Carl Fagan's article. He talks about Frank Hibben And he says, a professor of archaeology from the University of New Mexico was the first to make the stone public. Hibben is something of a controversy at UNM and is used as an example in classes on how not to do archaeology. And I can attest to that because
that's what they told you.
Yeah, when they bring up Frank Hibben in class, it's like, so this is how you don't want to do it.
Don't do it like this, kids. Don't do this at home.
Yeah. And then he brings up the Sandia Cave, where he claims to have found human occupation 25,000 years ago. And that's the infamous Sandia Man, which was debunked.
So the Sandia Man isn't an actual human remain?
Well, it's human occupation, but way younger than that. It's not that old.
Okay. So the only difference is that it is an actual occupied site, and there's artifacts and remains were found, or the remains are absent.
I don't know if there's remains. It just says human occupation, which could mean anything. It could have been like a hearth with some artifacts and you know.
But it definitely predates the invasion of Europeans.
Yeah.
So it's not something that's more recent.
Yeah. It's not something that Hibben like made up whole cloth. He just found something and then exaggerated how.
Or because it could have been like an old campsite for within the last couple hundred years, right? So how do we know how old it really is? Well, if it was a hearth, if it was a fire pit, then you can C14 the dates, so you could pull dates, the carbon. And so have they done that?
I don't know how they dated it, but it was discredited by Haynes and Agogino, who concluded the points found in the cave. So they were projectile points. Were definitely less than 14,000 years old.
Or were these Clovis points?
It does not say.
But
I mean, 14. They wouldn't have been Clovis. Clovis is older than that.
What comes after Clovis?
No. That would be about right. After Clovis is Folsom.
Folsom, that's right.
Folsom Prison Blues. So yeah. When you look at the images of the Mystery Stone, so it's like 9 lines of text. It's been vandalized.
I thought it was 10. Because it's supposed to be the Decalogue, right? Decalogue is 10.
3, 4. No, you're right. 10 lines of text.
10 Commandments.
It was vandalized in 2006 because nobody could fucking leave anything alone. I mean, even if it's a hoax, like just leave it alone. You know, like it's worth. You could still learn something from it, like in terms of like faking history and the ideologies that.
So when you say it was vandalized, like what did they do to it?
I think they just etched. They probably wrote their names in it or something.
Oh, okay.
It's usually how people.
So what kind of stone is this?
It's probably basalt.
Basalt. I mean, that's what I was thinking. It's basalt.
Yeah, I mean, it's a volcanic outcrop. So
yeah,
basalt. It's like 80 tons. Yeah, a large basalt boulder of perhaps 80 tons.
So the stone was there, and then someone went and etched this fake Phoenician text on the stone. It's not like someone rolled the stone or brought a stone into that. That was fabricated somewhere else,
from another place. Yeah,
right,
yeah,
and then brought it
in. That'd be really hard.
Yeah,
but yeah. So there's a lot of different ideas about where it came from and who did it. We'll never really know for sure unless somebody has a smoking gun documentation.
So no one's ever come out to claim it.
No,
the merry pranksters of New Mexico or something.
Yeah, and one of the first things I read, and I wish I still had this paper. I couldn't find it. I was looking for it. Somebody describes the style of the writing, and they're talking about how it looks like somebody got it from like a really bad tourist book, like this fake proto. What are they calling it? Proto Hebrew or like this ancient Phoenician mix. and that somebody without a lot of skills probably was looking through this old pamphlet of examples of ancient writing and just kind of cobbled something together.
The Phoenicians were Semitic peoples, right?
You know what? I don't know.
I think they were.
I'm not a Phoeniciologist or whatever they call it.
I mean, because that's the only reason. That's the only reason that it would make sense that you would find the so-called Ten Commandments in Phoenician text, is if, because I believe the Phoenicians were a branch of Semitic peoples that weren't necessarily Hebrews or Israelites, or like, you know, because the Semitic peoples have different branches, right? And the Phoenicians, I think, were one of those branches, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, people. Don't quote me on that, but I believe, if memory serves, I think the Phoenicians were a branch of Semitic peoples.
Well, my friend, I happen to have a little book in my possession.
Oh, a little
right here, called "The Meaning of the New Mexico Mystery Stone" by Dixie L. Perkins. And this was published by Sun Publishing Company of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
The prestigious Sun Publishing Company of Albuquerque.
This is the first printing, 1979. I don't think Sun Publishing is around anymore. But this author, Dixie Perkins, puts forth her own hypothesis.
Okay. So Dixie is definitely a she?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think Dixie could go either way, no?
Yeah. And also a cup, I believe.
Dixie cup.
Also
and
cups.
And a Dixie line. There's a Dixie line.
There's a whistle. There's all kinds of stuff. But here's a photo of the author. It's a lady. The author beside the mystery stone. And I'm going to read something from this. I want to elucidate to the audience Dixie's hypothesis of what the stone actually says, because she claims it's not even the Ten Commandments.
Okay.
And
so
it has its
10
own
lines of old Phoenician text that could be anything, and it just happens to be 10. Nothing to do with the Ten Commandments, folks.
And this is from her introduction. The purpose of this book is to release a story that has been confined to stone for centuries.
Ooh.
This significant communication was carved upon the Los Lunas, New Mexico inscription rock, or mystery stone. People were aware of the inscription when New Mexico became a territory in 1850, but no one could read it. Bum, bum, bum. And she goes in and she translates it for us.
Oh, wow.
A very fascinating story. And if you would like to hear it.
She's a veritable Sakurai Sitchin, huh? But for Phoenicians.
So, dear listeners, if you're interested in this, it's going to be featured in our extended premium content for this episode. If you are not a premium member, then I ask that you consider becoming a premium member for $5 a month. You get access to extended content of the episodes. You get access to our Discord server where we have awesome discussions with other like-minded individuals, and you get some other cool. And you also get ad-free episodes. So if you're sick of hearing ads while you listen to us, you get ad-free episodes. So that's one of the other perks.
And you can also suggest episode content as well.
Yeah, you can.
Several episodes we've done have been suggestions by some of the Discord participants,
our Patreon supporters.
But before we go to the premium, I did want to comment on your shirt. That's not one of the new ones you got that you added to the shop, right? That's something else.
No, this one a friend of mine made. He goes by Prophet, and he's a Chicano breakdancer, and so this is.
Let me see the rest of it. The mic's kind of blocking most of it. So it's let me guess. Is that Tlaloc?
It's Mictlantecutli.
Oh, Mictlantecutli.
But he's rocking.
Oh, because of the flint. That's right.
Yeah.
And so he's breakdancing or something?
Yeah, he's popping or locking. I'm not sure.
Popping that collar. Popping
and locking. But yeah, he made these shirts, and I scooped some up because I think they're dope.
Nice.
And I like supporting Chicano businesses.
Well, speaking of supporting, I'm wearing a T-shirt that says Los Jornaleros del Norte at the top in bright red letters. And in the middle, it has a sight scope, like a target. And in that sight, you see the silhouette of two day laborers. One of them's got its hand up, like signaling that, hey, I'm ready to work. Uh-huh. But the rest of the shirt that you can't see says, can you read that?
Fear of a brown country.
Fear of a brown country, brother.
Absolutely.
And so I got this, believe it or not, about 5 years ago during the first felon's presidency from organization called it goes by NDLON, National Day Labor Organizing Network, and I believe they're out of California, but they have chapters throughout various cities around the country. And I just wanted to make a statement about supporting things that you believe in. I've been supporting them for the past 5 years doing micropayments, and so a micropayment is basically like you sign up for a donation and you don't even have to think about it. Like it's automatically sent to them if you select monthly or whatever system they have. So some organizations have it every 6 months, some have it for the year. So I've set mine up for every month. I've been donating money to them for the past 5 years. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. If there's an organization that you see that is doing good work, that is out there fighting the good fight, and you want to support them, that's one way of doing it.
Hell yeah.
If there's nothing else that you can do physically for whatever reason, at the very least, support the people that are able to do something. And so I just wanted to throw that out there as a suggestion for anyone that's looking for a way to support causes that they believe in. So shout out to the NDLON. They're doing great work out there.
Right on. Shout out. And with that, dear listeners, we'll see you on the other side for the premium content. And remember, the truth, well, it's like medicine. It doesn't always taste good, but it is always good for you.
That's right.
Thank you for listening to Tales from Atlantis, a project of the Chimali Institute of Mesoamerican Arts. If you enjoy the show, please consider becoming a Patreon supporter. You can do this by visiting talesfromatlantis.com and clicking Support the Podcast. Your continued support will help keep the podcast ad-free and independent. Until next time, Timo Itase.